You are now live.
Okay, everybody, I will call the General Committee meeting to order. Welcome to our virtual General Committee meeting. Of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, physical distancing measures, General Committee is continuing to meet virtually for the moment. Members of Council, Executive Management, the City Clerk are participating tonight via video conference. Senior leadership team who have reports on tonight's agenda will be available to answer questions. We have just a brief General Committee agenda tonight, immediately followed by City Council. And I'll sort of address the procedure for Council when we get there. We may, depending on the timing, be able to move up some of the business of Council. Some of the other business we want to keep on time, as we are going to welcome some deputations tonight. So to General Committee, we will start, as always, with the consent agenda. I'll read out the title associated with the recommended motions and the items for discussion. Members of Council, ask the item be held if you want to discuss it further at tonight's General Committee. If it's not held, the motion that's printed on the agenda is deemed to be approved on consent, and there will be no further discussion tonight. I'll go forward to City Council. Okay, first we have reports of reference, advisory, or special committees. The report of the Council Compensation Review Committee dated September 2nd, 2021 is to be received. We are also receiving the report of the Finance and Corporate Services Committee dated September 14th. Finance and Corporate Services Committee has recommended the following motions. First, with regards to the support for the Water First organization. Okay, no holds, that is approved. Next, we have the 2021 year-to-date internal audit status report. It's to receive for information. No holds on that, is approved. Finally, we have an item with regards to accessibility of the City of Barrie's public washrooms. Councillor Kungl, you wanted to hold that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next is the report of the City Building Committee dated September 21st. We're going to receive that, and City Building Committee has recommended the following motions. First, with regards to heritage conservation districts. No holds, that is approved. That's to investigate the feasibility of planning for those. Next, we have a review of the CIP of Planning Active Transportation webinar. No holds, that is approved. We have an item out of committee regarding the single tree bylaw update. Okay, no holds, that is approved by General Committee. Next item is with regards to the Sunnydale Road overpass. No holds, that is approved. Finally, we have an item regarding the Municipal Heritage Register to add 84 Cumberland and 125 Toronto Street. No holds. Those items are approved on consent. We have just a single staff report coming directly to General Committee tonight. It's with regards to an all-way stop at the intersection of Innisfil and Brock Street. No holds. That is approved. And we have two items for discussion placed by members of Council tonight. The first is an invitation to the Simcoe County Food Council to come make a presentation. It's put on by Councillor Aylwin. No holds there. That is approved. The other item placed by a member of Council is placed by Councillor Kungl. It's with regards to the watershed walkway behind East Bayfield Community Centre. No holds there. That is approved on consent. Okay, the only item that was held was out of Finance and Corporate Services Committee. It was with regards to the accessibility of the City of Barrie's public washrooms. Councillor Kungl, would you care to put that on the floor?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to put that on the floor as printed.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Quick question for staff, and I'm going to land it here because we're talking about accessibility of washrooms, and I've received some public questions about if hours of operation are actually included when we think about accessibility. So I'll leave it there, and then maybe I'll explain if need be, but is that in scope? I know most of the motion I've read really talks a bit about infrastructure and design.
Ms. McAlpine.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Through you to Councillor Kungl. The hours of operation are based on the staffing resources that have been allocated by Council. The funds that are available are used to staff the maintenance and cleaning of those washrooms, and to the greatest extent possible, certainly are not currently sufficient to address 24/7 accessibility for those washrooms or deal with the level of damage that occurred when they were previously open 24/7.
Councillor Kungle?
Follow-up, if I may. Thank you, Ms. McAlpine. And I guess I'd ask, because it is that time of year where typically we do get questions about change in operations of public washrooms and issues around access to any public washroom, especially during the pandemic and still restrictions we're seeing in different pieces. What's your best advice, Ms. McAlpine, or I'll look to other staff, about where we might be able to address that through the budget, or would we open up how we define accessibility within this piece around hours of operating and bring back a cost for enhanced service or scenarios?
Ms. McAlpine.
Mayor Lehman, through you to Councillor Kungle, I would suggest that that would be a budget piece that would be considered. There would need to be funding for both enhanced staffing levels to deal with cleaning as well as security, should the hours of operation change. And as an additional note, and Mr. Hughes can explain it better than I, if necessary, most of the city's parks buildings are not heated, that have washrooms, so water doesn't flow when the pipes are frozen. And so that's a physical limitation on the infrastructure that requires capital improvements to the buildings should they wish to remain open in the wintertime. It's just not feasible to have the washrooms remain open in the winter where they're not heated. They will not be able to operate. So.
Okay, that's helpful. And unless I get guidance otherwise, maybe I'll look at tabling this as a discussion item to city building, if that's the most relevant space, to look at a potential discussion around scenarios and what facilities, if any, are viable. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Kungle. So the motion's on the floor as printed. Members of General Committee. I'll just ask a quick question to Ms. McAlpine, actually. For years, we've been seeing self-cleaning washrooms promoted at trade shows, at the AMO conference and otherwise. Some municipalities have gone in that direction, in part because of the issue that you've identified. Notwithstanding, you can only do it where you've got winter capable servicing. Has the city ever investigated the costs of doing that?
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. I can advise we certainly have been looking at I'm not sure I would refer to them as entirely self-cleaning washrooms, but washrooms that require lower maintenance levels. And I would offer the opportunity for Mr. Hughes to speak to some of the challenges. In many cases, some of the buildings or the options that are available have limited foundations, which might be a more challenging situation with our climate and frost. But Mr. Hughes is better to explain the technical aspects.
Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Ms. McAlpine has said, we have looked at these from a number of vendors, actually. One of the biggest challenges that we have is in order to be truly functional, they do need a sewage connection. They do exist where they have a tank and they have to be pumped out on a regular basis. So while functional, and it's something that we've identified for maybe special events where something like that is more practical. For a permanent installation, the biggest cost is actually the foundation and the running of water lines and the sewage lines back to either a main drain or an existing facility where these services already exist.
Okay, thanks for the information. Food for thought when we get to this item. But for tonight, the motion's on the floor is printed with regards to accessibility for all of our residents. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of the motion? Anybody opposed? None? That carries. Thank you for that. Okay, as no other items were held, we're going to do inquiries and announcements at council tonight. No need to do it twice. I will ask, though, because it's on the general agenda, comments on the circulation lists. So we had circulation list on September 20th. Any items from that, members of General Committee? Okay, seeing none. September 27th. Okay, seeing none. Finally, tonight's October 4th circulation list. Okay. With no items from the circulation list, that completes the General Committee agenda. I thought this might be a quick one. What we will do now is give our staff 7-8 minutes to prepare the motions for the City Council meeting. So what I'd ask of members of General Committee is if you can come back on with your cameras at 6:20. We will call City Council to order at 6:20 and then proceed. My preference would be to proceed with at least the information part of the presentation on the long-range financial plan. I'm sure there will be questions. We can hopefully deal with those questions before we get to the deputations matter, but I'll ask you again more formally after we convene City Council. So that's the intent. And with that, General Committee is adjourned. Please come back for 6:20. Thank you very much. Oh, Madam Clerk.
There's a separate link for City Council, so you have to
Yes.
jump off this and go into the next link.
Yeah. Thanks very much.